Hey everybody, how's it going? Welcome back to Copper Jacket TV. So we've talked before about the 23 new gun control laws that were just recently signed into law in the state of California. Well, today we're going to be talking about two more of those, and they are absolutely as ridiculous as you could possibly imagine. I mean, it really gives you some insight into the imagination of California lawmakers and the stuff that they are willing to come up with to try and push their agenda. Just to give you a little hint of one of the things that we're going to be talking about today, did you know that California just classified 3D printers as firearm-related products? Yeah, and that's just one of them. So let's talk about what's going on. This video is proud to be sponsored by Mechanic Superstore. If you're sick of laying on your back working on your vehicle, or maybe you just want to clean up your garage, check out their 2-post lift, 4-post lifts, motorcycle lifts, and parking lifts. They have absolutely everything that you're going to need, including lifetime technical support. Now, if you're like me, you spend more time in the garage than you do in your home because that's where your passion for vehicles exists. But we don't always have enough space to get everything we want done. That's where getting a parking lift, a 2-post lift, or a 4-post lift, even a motorcycle lift, can help move some of that stuff out of the way. Now, one of my favorite things about Mechanic Superstore is they not only cater to the individual like you and I who want to have the best garage in the neighborhood, but they also cater to the professional. If you are a professional and you're looking to get your shop started completely with one stop, just check out their Deluxe Shop Starter Combo. Now, I'm going to put a link to Mechanic Superstore down below if you want to save $75 off your first purchase. Use code GEARUP75. Or for the military, save $100 using Salute100. Again, there'll be a link to Mechanic Superstore down below. Okay, so why don't we just start off with that whole 3D printer thing, because it seems a little bit absurd to say that that is now considered a firearm-related product, but that's what it says in the bill, and that's what was just recently signed by the governor. So let's go ahead and take a look at what this bill actually says. So it says here, existing law requires that any person who manufactures more than 3 firearms in a year to be licensed by the state as a manufacturer. But now the bill has changed that to say this bill would instead require anybody who uses a 3D printer or CNC milling machine to manufacture a firearm to be a licensed manufacturer. So they got rid of the whole 3 thing, and now if you even want to make one, you have to be a licensed manufacturer in the state of California. But it doesn't stop there. It says this bill would add 3-dimensional printers and CNC milling machines as specified to the definition of firearms-related products. Well, I mean, if that doesn't prove that California loves their regulations, I don't know what else will. You know, it's one of those things where if they can simply change what the definition is so that it falls under a different category, then it can also fall under a different regulatory scheme. And that's what they do with their definitions in that state. You'll notice they change the definition of a lot of different things so that it then falls under a new category, and then they can have access to regulating it. And that's kind of what they're doing here. Okay, so that was AB 1089. Now we're talking about AB 1483. So one thing California likes to do is they like to go through existing law, and they like to see where they can maybe tighten it up a little bit to make it even difficult for people in that state to practice their fundamental rights. So the AB 1483, what it does is it changes the existing law surrounding the whole 1 in 30-day purchase scheme that California has. So if you're not aware, in California, if you want to go purchase something that's serialized, that has to requires a background check and a 4473, you can only do one every 30 days. That means that if you start on day 1 and you fill out your 4473, you wait the ridiculous 10-day waiting period and you pick it up, from that moment where you filled out that application, you now have to wait 31 days because you can't do it on the 30th day. So on the 31st day, you can then fill out another 4473 and undergo another background check. Well, they went ahead and added a little bit more to that. Now, one thing I want to note real quick is there's actually a new law starting in just months on January 1st, 2024, and it expands on this existing law as well. So it says here, commencing on January 1st, 2024, existing law will also apply this limitation to completed frames or receivers and firearm precursor parts. So that's, what's going to be starting in January. So now that we've already talked about what the existing law does, let's talk about what this bill would change. So it says this bill would delete the private party transfer exemption to the 30-day prohibition. So in the past, if you were going through a private party transfer, and let's say that you and another buddy, you guys went to an FFL to do this transfer, that 1 in 30 days didn't apply to you. It only applied when you were making a transaction between you and an FFL or a vendor. So that would be when the prohibition took place, would be right there. But now they've expanded that to include, well, everybody, because we can't have two people walk in and go through background checks, and we can't have that happen in less than 30 days. Now, this bill, which again was signed into law, does add some exemptions. So if you're somebody who, let's say your wife passed away and she had a big collection, right? And you wanted to liquidate that collection because, well, you just need help making ends meet and everything. Well, you could do that, right? You could get rid of everything or transfer it to somebody else. They could, whatever. You could make exemptions like that. But as far as your private party stuff, they have completely closed that off. And now that also falls in the 1 in 30 day rule. Now, the big takeaway here is that this happens every single year. And while these two might not seem as big and as talked about as SB 2 or SB 92 or any of the other ones that change things around carry and stuff, they're still very big bills, and this happens all the time. I have been doing California videos for going on now 11 years. So I've been covering this every single year. Any change that's made, any new law that's added, any new law that's amended, anything that happens, I have been bringing it to you guys for now over a decade, and every single year this stuff happens. Every single year something changes. You get people that move in and out of the Assembly and the Senate in the state of California, and when they get there, they want to come up with some new way to say that they did something. And so what they do is they dig real deep into their imagination to come up with something that somebody hasn't come up with before. And a lot of times that basically comes from existing law that they feel like is just too lax, is too loose, you know? So we need to tighten it up. We need to button it up a little bit. And so they come out with stuff like this. So while you have those big bills that everybody's kind of waiting to see whether or not they get signed and when they're going to become law and all that stuff, you're always going to end up with a dozen or more of these, you know, what I guess you consider smaller ones that make changes to existing law that most people never even know about. And so it's really hard to keep track. I mean, if you're not somebody, you know, like you guys that are physically watching videos like this to learn about what else is coming out, you will not know about it. And so it's almost like a trap, right? Because who's going to pay attention to 23 every single year? Don't forget about the stuff that kind of happens, you know, kind of mid-season or, you know, emergency sessions, things like that. Yeah, it's really hard to keep track in that state. And again, it is the state with the most laws like this in the entire country, and that number keeps growing, and it seems to be growing exponentially. So while we talk about these different cases and lawsuits and things that are happening in California to overturn some of the bigger ones, don't forget about the smaller ones that are kind of happening almost behind the scenes, right? Those are the ones that you need to pay attention to as well, because they, even though it might seem minor compared to some of the bigger ones, they're still infringing on your rights, and that matters. Especially in a state where, you know, they're getting really upset that they seem to be losing in court. So just pay attention, understand what's going on, and know what's going on around you, because you just don't want to end up getting yourself in trouble because, well, you just can't keep up. So I wanted to share that with you today for those particular reasons, and I want to thank you all very much for watching. I really do appreciate it. Please like, subscribe. You guys have a great day.